Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to Mahipati Talks. As you are aware that every day we are sharing the information and knowledge from the resource persons. It's very important that during this COVID time, everything has been stopped, but the sharing knowledge has not been stopped, and at the same time, learning has not been stopped. Now we are going to have a session on enhancing active listening skills. If you observe that most of the times, whenever you were there in the school days or college days, most of the times we focus more on skills like reading and writing most of the times. Listening and speaking only in limited organization. Today we are going to have a talk on how to enhance your active listening. Here we have got this our renowned resource person Praveen Alluri, who is an assistant professor at Nizam College. He has got more than a decade of experience in teaching and training English, and he has worked in Middle East for 8 years. Published four of research papers in international journal, and he has presented five of research papers at international avenues, and also he has done research at the University of Oxford, UK in 2013. He has achieved his MPhil, ME, and PGDT, and PhD. Currently working at Swami Vivekananda Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. And I'm glad and happy that, as you know, that when people go abroad and work, they have got international exposure. They understand our students as well as other students. And thank you, Praveen, for having accepted to deliver a session on enhancing active listening. Now I request Praveen Alluri to take over the session.
Thank you, Dr. Mahipati, sir. Thank you very much, and very warm good evening to everybody. Thank you for your kind words, sir. So, shall I start the session? Am I audible?
You are audible, sir.
All right. Good evening, one and all, once again. And yes, as Dr. Mahipati has said, we have lots of focus on reading, lots of focus on writing. But when it comes to listening, it is the very least skill most of the time, I can say. God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Okay, that means to listen carefully and to listen more and to talk less, right? Most of the conflicts, most of the disputes, or most of the feuds, most of the personal problems or family issues or whatsoever it might be, maybe it's a regional, national, or international issue, can be sorted out when we are interested in listening to the other person. Most of the feuds, most of the political wars, or most of the fights, or most of the conflicts happen because they give very less room to listening. Communication is the exchange of ideas, information. It is an art or act of expressing a message in a way that allows others to understand. But we must understand, how can one understand feelings of other person? When we look into our school life, or when we look into our college life or university life, most of our textbooks are focused upon how to develop reading skills, how to develop your writing skills, how to be an effective speaker. But very least we can see that one focuses upon listening. If you listen carefully to a person, or if you listen carefully to an organization, or if you listen carefully to a nation, whatsoever the problem might be, I cannot say 100% you are going to solve it, but I'm sure you will be reducing the intensity of the problem. If at all there is a misunderstanding between family members, between wife or a husband, most of the time it will reach to the peaks because of the less room for listening they have given to. Though communication is very important, as I said, it is an exchange of information or ideas, but one must understand a communication is incomplete without listening. You might hear, but listening plays a major role. When you listen to a person, definitely you can step into his shoes and you can understand the feelings, emotions behind his or her pain. Today, I would like to start my session called Enhancing Active Listening. How can one enhance active listening? Well, 47% of our communication is of listening. When you listen to a person, you can understand him in a better way. Our communication process, our role is being a speaker and a listener, it keeps on changing. So, one of the most important elements of communication is listening, or you can say active listening. So, what is listening? What is listening? Listening is listening is an activity that involves in receiving, deciphering, perceiving a message with intent to understand, respond, and plan. Most of the time, we listen to reply. That is where the communication fails. Most of the time, we listen to respond quickly, or we do not listen to the conversation completely, wherein we are failing the communication there. So it is an active activity which involves receiving the message, coding it, deciphering the message, perceiving a message, and an intent to understand before you respond. First, understand what exactly the person wants to share, what exactly he wants to uh, tell you. So before you respond to the person, or before you respond or reply, make it an hobby to understand the person. So once you understand, you will have a complete knowledge, or you will come to know what exactly the problem of the person or of an individual is. So once you understood that problem or that situation or that fact, secondly, you have to respond. And the next one is you can also plan the conversation further. So this is this is the definition of active listening. It's an activity which involves in receiving, deciphering, perceiving a message with an intent. There should be an intent to understand what exactly a person wants to say. Most of the times when we get deep down into their hearts, yeah, this can only happen through listening. We cannot just hear and we cannot just understand or we can solve a problem. We have to listen to the problem carefully to analyze the problem and to give an appropriate solution to the problem. So now let's look at what is the difference between hearing and listening. Most of the times when we walk on the road or when we are driving to our workplaces, we hear a lot of voices, we hear a lot of sounds. Or another way, we may not pay attention to each and individual noise or sound. Okay, so most of the times we want to ignore whatever the sounds which are happening over the road, or whatever the sounds which are happening in the railway station, or whatever the sounds which are going place in and around us. Okay, when we go to a railway station, we have to catch Rajdhani Express. There will be a lot of announcements going on. So a lot of announcements will be of different trains. Yeah, they will be announcing about different trains which are passing through that station or departing that station. So when we barely or we barely pays our attention to those announcements, but when it comes to announcement regarding the Rajdhani Express, immediately we listen to it. Our ears pay very attention to that information because that is helpful for us. That is what we are looking, or that is what we want to listen to. So hearing is a passive process wherein you don't have to do anything. As I'm walking on a road, I hear to a lot of sounds. Now I'm giving you a lecture. I'm talking about enhancing active listening. At the same time, I could hear a lot of voices in surrounding areas. Yeah, it's drizzling outside. Yeah, I can hear some other fan noise. So, but I'm not paying much attention to that. But at the same time, when somebody speaks in our platform at the moment, immediately I will be paying much attention to it. So hearing is a passive process, whereas listening is an active process. An active process where you put your mind, body, mind, and soul to get that information. Wherein hearing, as I told you, it's a passive process. You're not going to put enough effort to get that sound or to analyze or decode that sound. Next, hearing, it happens involuntarily. That means you don't, as I told you, as you are walking over the road, yeah, you don't want to heed to the lot of noises over there. You don't want to heed to the horns, or you don't want to heed to the vegetable vendors screaming over there. Yeah, so it is completely an involuntary process. But when it comes to listening, you volunteer to get that information. Yeah, as you're standing in the railway station, yeah, when the announcement about Rajdhani Express comes, yeah, what you do, you voluntarily, yes, okay, this is very important for me. If I skip this information, I might lose my train. I would like to find out where exactly the platform is, or which platform should I go to. So this is how it is completely voluntary. The next one is hearing is an effortless. You don't pay any effort. Yeah, it is a casual process. Whereas a hearing, I mean, listening is intentional. That means intentionally you want to focus upon certain subject. Hearing happens accidentally as you're walking over the road, as you're driving to your college, or as you're driving to workplace. You find lot of sounds. You hear a lot of sounds. It happens accidental. Yeah, wherein listening is completely focused upon. You have to focus in order to understand the message. You have to focus in order to get what exactly the person wants to talk to you. Now let's move on to the next part, which is levels of listening. According to Eric Van Slyke, in his book Listening to Conflict, there are 6 levels of listening. The first one is passive listening. Passive listening is the lowest level of listening. We pay little attention in this, and we only catch few phrases which are of our interest. That means we are completely inactive in this process. In part, as part of passive listening, we are completely inactive. We do not want to put our efforts into it. We do not want to focus upon it. But at some point of, I mean, some part of our heart says, okay, let's give some part of our ear to it. So it is the lowest level of listening. We do not pay attention to that. We pay very little attention to it. The second point is responsive listening. Responsive listening, the listeners provide response to the questions asked, or whatever has been asked, they will respond accordingly. Okay, so listeners provide speakers verbal and non-verbal indicators saying that we are listening to you. At this point, or at this level of listening, our comprehension level is still low. That means we are just answering the question. We don't want to decode it. We don't want to take it into our heart. as I told you regarding the passive listening, wherein the comprehension level is very low, the intention to understand it is very less, I can say. The next one is selective listening. This happens with most of us. So whenever there is a talk going on, okay, we have a uh, preconceived uh, what I would like to say, like we keep something already in our mind, so we want to listen to only that, and we don't want to listen to the complete thing. Okay, for example, I would like to say, if a student who wants to party with his friends, he asks permission of his parents, saying that, Mom, I would like to go to the party and I will be returning back late night, that is by 12:30 or 2 o'clock in the night. Then mom says, okay, go, but be back by 12 o'clock. Here, the student wants to listen to the selected phrase. What is the select phrase? Go, you go. Okay. He doesn't want to listen to beyond that particular phrase. What does or what does his mom ask him to do? To return by 12 o'clock. So the later the person comes at 2 o'clock or 2:30, his mom asks, why are you late? He said, Mom, you only asked me to go. That's the reason why I have went and attended the party. So here, the major focus is selective. That is, we listen very selectively. We are paying more attention to what is said, particularly to words or phrases of our interest. That means whatever the phrases we would like to hear, or whatever the phrases we would like to listen to, we are focusing or we are paying interest to that phrase only. We do not want to listen to the entire conversation at all. The next part is an attentive listening, which is closer to active listening. So we listen attentively. While we listen attentively, we may ask few questions, or we may seek further information about the topic being discussed, or about the conversation, or about an incident. So here, the comprehension level is much more higher than passive, responsive, or selective listening, because you are intending to answer a few questions, or you would like to inquire more about what exactly that information is all about. So we engage our intellect in the listening process and comprehend more information than the previous levels. So this is much more closer to active listening. The next one is empathetic listening. Empathetic listening is very much missing in our lives. Empathetic listening is listening at the deepest level. We understand the feelings and the emotions of the person, and we can resolve the conflict which has been taken place, or we would like to give a solution to the problem which a person is going through. So this empathetic listening, in most of the cases in our lives, is missing. So here, listener projects oneself into the personality of speaker in order to better understand the feelings and emotions of the person. So in order to understand the feeling, right? So in order to understand the emotions of a person, this level of listening is very much essential. The last part is active listening. It requires listeners to put their mind, body, and soul. In order to listen carefully, you have to put your mind, body, and soul into the content, or into the speaker whom you are talking with, yeah, or into the information what is being discussed, or into the talk which is going through. Listener attempts to understand the context of what speaker is saying. In active listening, the listener will understand what exactly is the context which the speaker is discussing, and what are the emotions behind it. See, feelings and emotions plays a major role as part of our communication. So if you do not understand the feelings and the emotions of a person, I can say it is an incomplete communication. That means there is a breakdown in communication. So When speaker says something, we must understand what are the emotions or feelings behind his context. Okay, so we must understand or analyze in what context the person is speaking. So in active listening, the listener uses his body, whole body, to listen to the speaker. That means he focuses upon the speaker. The next one is purpose or importance of active listening. Why is active listening very important? As I told you in the beginning, that if you are not listening to a person, that means you're not paying enough attention to the person. On the other hand, you are not going to solve the problem or the situation of a person. So when you pay 100% focus upon the context, upon the content, and upon the emotions behind the speaker, definitely we are going to we are going to succeed in that conversation, or definitely we are going to achieve something out of that conversation. So the main purpose of active listening in our lives is to understand the person. Everything can be solved when you carefully listen to a person, whatever the problem it might be. Yeah, most of the times we listen to respond immediately. Yes, this person wants to say against something, so I would like to give a very fitting repartee, very fitting reply to that person. So we do not understand the whole conversation over there. We do not listen to the whole point of uh, the person. We immediately sorry we immediately wants to respond. That is where the communication breaks down. So we should make sure that we have to listen to understand first, then to answer next. So I'm sorry, it's okay. So why do we need, what is the importance of active listening? The importance or the purpose of active listening, the first one is to learn something. Okay, through listening we learn. Listening is our primary means of growth and intellectual development. We impart knowledge when we speak, but when we learn when we listen to. I can impart knowledge by speaking, but if at all I want to learn something, I have to listen to someone. I have to carefully focus upon the speech of someone. The second purpose of active listening is problem solving. In every household, or in every institute, or in each and every country or locality, there are a lot of problems we come across in our day-to-day life. 90% of the problems can be solved when we listen to that person attentively and carefully. Most of the problem arises when we want to respond to what to listen to instead of understanding what we have listened to. According to Michael Purdy, an expert on listening, points out like this: listening is our primary means of growth and intellectual development. So, an adequate understanding nature of the problem can definitely produce a good solution. An inadequate understanding of the nature of a problem is a common reason for failing to produce good solution. So one must understand how to how to listen to a person so that we can definitely solve a problem. There are a lot of feuds, there are a lot of conflicts, there are a lot of misunderstandings happening all over. But these can be, we can put an end to these by listening carefully. So active listening helps us in solving our problems. Next one, it helps in building relationships. The purpose of active listening is to build relationship. Just imagine when you pay full attention to a person who wants to unload their burden, or the burden of sadness, or the burden of depression, or the burden of problem. So if you can just focus more upon that person, and if you pay 100% attention to that person, definitely that person will come back to you in his next problem to share that problem with you, because here you did not do anything else. You just listened to that person. You have paid attention. You have stepped into his shoes so that he can unload his sadness or depression on your shoulders. So by listening to that person carefully, you have built a very good rapport with him, or you have built a very good relationship with him. Whenever a next problem arises in his or her life, definitely that person will be coming to you. He will not be going to anybody else, because he has understood that you can understand his feelings and emotions. Though you have not given him a solution, the person could figure out that, yes, I can lean upon this person. I can share my problems to this person. Okay. Giving a solution is secondary, but understanding the problem, understanding the feelings and emotions of that particular person is very important, which can help us to build our relationships. The next one is it helps to demonstrate acceptance of others. That means you by listening to others, you can show that, yes, this person is going to accept whatever I am going to say. Yeah. So it demonstrates the acceptance of others when we listen to them carefully. And the next purpose of active listening is to enhance the self-esteem of others. So as I told you before, when a person has got some problem, he will not go to anybody else, because he will straight away comes to you because you have listened to him carefully. And it helps in building the self-esteem of others, that is improving or increasing the self-esteem of others. Yes, if I go to this person, definitely he will listen to my cause, or definitely he will listen to my problem. Definitely he will understand the feelings and the emotions which are in my heart. And the last purpose of active listening is it prevents misunderstandings. The whole lot of problems pops up because of misunderstanding between wife and husband, misunderstanding between parents, misunderstanding between kids and parents, or misunderstanding between states, nations, right? So all this can be prevented when we listen carefully to that person, when we intently steps into his shoes, understands the feelings, understands the emotions, understands what exactly the person is going through. We can do that. Now the next part is process of listening. So there are the process of listening consists of five basic process. There are five basic process, or five basic stages which the listening goes through. The first one is sensing stage. In this stage, listeners select or ignore one or more stimuli from the multitude of stimuli. That means if somebody is talking to me, okay, I will select whatever I would like to, and I will ignore the rest of the conversation. Okay, so it is just like sensing. Yeah, we only hear what is important to us and what we want to learn. Okay, whether this conversation, what the person is going to have, will be of help to me, or whether this talk which a person is going to deliver, will that be of help to me. So we sense in this stage. This is one part of the process of listening. So we sense here, okay, we got one or more, one out of many stimuli. or we got such a small response or small information out of much more information over there. So the first part is sensing stage. The second one, so once we have sensed, the second part is interpreting. So in this stage, it's a process of assigning meaning to the stimuli what we have received. Yeah. So here you assign, okay, so what should I talk about now? So I have heard something from my friend. So should I give him a compliment, or should I comment about it, or should I degrade whatever the conversation he has spoken to me? So this is an interpreting stage which happens. So in this stage, basically, we assign meaning to what we have sensed to. The next stage is evaluate. So in this stage, listeners think about the message, make more extensive inferences, evaluate, judge the speaker and his message. So we are going to evaluate what we have sensed to, and we are, whatever the meaning we have assigned to, we are going to evaluate this, we evaluate to that message. This is a very important stage, because based on this stage, our reply will be. So we may hurt the person, or we might encourage the person based upon this stage. The next stage is responding stage. So whatever we have sensed, whatever we have interpreted, whatever the message we have evaluated, now it is a stage to respond to that information. And after we respond to that one, we might respond in a negative way, or we might respond in a positive way. Nevertheless, when the conversation is complete, okay, so whatever we want to keep it in our memory, or whatever we want to remember, out of the chunk of information, we are going to pick whatever is necessary, and we are storing it in our memory. So this is the process of responding. So the memory storage is the end result of effective listening. Listener decide what part of speech is to retain and attempt to store them in memory. So these are the process of listening. So these are the 5 stages. The first one being sensing stage. So when the information has been bombarded upon you, so you will sense, okay, should I take this information or not? If I take, what happens? So once you have taken that chunk of information from it, okay, a small bit of information, so you try to add meaning to it. You try to assign meaning to that. And once you have assigned the meaning, you will evaluate whether I should speak for it or whether I should speak against it. So the next stage is a responding stage. So you respond according to what you have decided in evaluating stage, and you will retain what exactly you want to retain in your memory. So there are signs of listening and non-listening. When you are talking to a person, you can easily figure out whether that person is listening to you or whether the person is not listening to you. So when the signs of listening is, the first basic sign is the eye contact. Person maintains eye contact until the conversation is done, right? That is the first and foremost. The second one, you incline your body towards the person. The second sign of listening is you incline your body towards the speaker. So this is the second sign. And your gestures or your non-verbal communication is very minimum when you are listening to that conversation. So these are few signs of listening to a person. Yeah, you focus upon the content, you focus upon the emotions, you focus upon the feelings of the person. Yeah, you maintain good eye contact with the person. Yeah, you incline your body towards that person, showing that you are listening to the person. Sometimes we might put our hand over their shoulders as a sign that you are listening to that person. Or you might hold your hand, you might hold their hand within your hands. That might be one sign of listening. So there can be signs of non-listening too. So most of the time, though you look at that person, but within there are a lot of conflicts going through. So you will not be focusing upon that person, you will not be maintaining the eye contact with that person. Yeah, you will be very in a relaxed position. That means your body posture shows that you are not going to take whatever the conversation or whatever the information has been put upon you. So these are few signs of not listening. So let's move on to barriers. What are the barriers to listening? There are external barriers as well as internal barriers. So what are external barriers? So when you want to listen to when you want to listen to a podcast, or when you want to listen to an audio file, yeah. So most of the times, if kids are around in your house, yeah, they will be making a lot of noises. Yeah, you can be hearing to a lot of noises across or around you. So these could be external barriers. So the next part is internal barriers. These are very important. Yeah. So these are very important because these are the ones which stops you from listening to the person. These are the ones which fails you in giving proper response. These are the ones which hinder the communication between two persons. So let's look into listeners' internal barriers. Comparing. So when you are listening to a conversation, immediately you will compare. For example, a person would like to share some information about his car. Okay, so while he was sharing the information about his car, immediately that comparison clicks in your mind, saying, okay, yeah, this has happened, same with me. Yeah, this is what happened with me with my car as well. So immediately you start comparing, and this might cause the breakdown in communication, because this is a great internal barrier which we have. So we must stop comparing when we are listening to something. First listen, understand, then respond. Listen, understand, and respond. Listen, look at the context, in which context or what context the person is is talking about, or in what context the person is in, or in what situation the person is in. First understand that and feel his emotions behind that context, and then we have to act. So most of the internal barriers, yeah, can cause miscommunication, or there can be communication breakdown. So one of which is comparing. The second one is personal experience, culture, and background. As I told you, yeah, when somebody is talking about his car, when there is a problem in his car, or when he or she would like to buy a car, so when they start the conversation, immediately you will correlate that information with your personal experience, or sometimes it can happen with the culture or the backgrounds, etc. So this is one of the internal barrier. Next one is perception. Before a person speaks, by looking at, or before a person starts the conversation, yeah, we perceive what exactly the person is going to communicate. So then and there only we are breaking the communication, because the speaker has not even started his conversation, and we perceive something in our mind, and we try to block whatever the information has been communicated by the speaker. So perception is one of the internal barrier. The next one is mind reading. This happens a lot of times. Yeah. So when a person approaches, and when a person would like to share the information with you, immediately you read his mind. Okay, if I know this person is coming for a help. If I help him, so and so will happen. If I do not help him, such and such instances will happen. So you immediately read the mind of the person before he starts speaking to you. So this could be another barrier. Next one is rehearsing what you are going to say, instead of listening carefully to the conversation, instead of instead of listening carefully to the conversation. Here what we do is we rehearse what we have to reply to that person. This mostly happens with our students. Yeah, they will not listen to the instructions carefully. So when they do not listen to the instructions carefully, yeah, instead of listening to the instructions, they rehearse. They want to rehearse something to answer you. The next greatest internal barrier to listening is judging. As it is said that we should not judge a person, yeah, by looking at his or her appearance. We cannot judge a book by its cover. We cannot judge the content, or we cannot judge we cannot judge the person's conversation before he starts. First, listen to the conversation. First, listen what exactly he's trying to say. First, listen in which context he's putting his ideas towards you. Yeah. First, understand what exactly he's trying to say. Then you can judge. Then you can evaluate. Yeah. Then you can interpret and evaluate, and you can respond to that. But before doing that, we initial stages only we start judging that. So this could be a barrier to our listening. That means we are not completely focusing upon the content of the conversation. We are not completely focusing upon the information. Rather, we start judging upon what initially, which will break the communication. So there are few techniques which we can enhance. Yeah, active listening is really as an extension of the golden rule. To know how to listen to someone else, think about how you would want to be listened to. Yeah. So most of the times we don't want to listen to people. We don't want to focus more upon the conversation or the information. Just try to be in their shoes. Okay, if you have a problem, if you approach a person and you want to tell the problem to the person, yeah, in the initial stages only, if he tries to block you, or if he tries to avoid you, or if he wants to skip that conversation, how do you feel? Yeah. So one must understand that you must know how to listen to someone else. That means you would be in a position to listen to. That means you have to be conscious, and you have to be in a position to accept the information, because there will be next turn for you where you have to share some information to the person, and if that person will not listen to you carefully, yeah, there will be definitely you will be feeling bad, or there will be a breakdown in the communication. So we must to know how to listen to someone else is to think about how you would want to be listened to. So there are a few techniques to enhance our active listening. Face the speaker with an open mind. Yeah. Whenever a person is talking to you, try to look at that person. Try to look at that person carefully. Try to maintain appropriate eye contact. Try to incline your body, or try to incline your body posture to that person. Yeah. Try to, if the person is so close to you, yeah, if that person is so familiar to you, you can pat on that person, or you can put your arm on their shoulders, or you can hold their arm. Yeah. First, face the speaker with an open mind. Don't uh, be preoccupied with all other notions. Yeah. So please keep an open mind and a relaxed posture. So when you have an open mind and relaxed posture, definitely it helps you to take, or it helps you to receive whatever the message or whatever the information the speaker wants to tell you. Next one is maintain appropriate eye contact. Yeah, maintaining eye contact is very essential as part of communication skills. If you do not maintain eye contact, the person, or the speaker can understand that you are not the focusing upon that conversation, or you do not want to listen to that person. Yeah. If you do not maintain proper eye contact, yeah, when a person is talking to you and you're looking around, or you're looking at the walls, that clearly tells, or that clearly gives an information or a message that you are no more interested with that conversation or with the person. So if at all you want to build up this active listening skill, you have to maintain eye contact. You have to look into the eyes of the person. Yeah. So I'm again and again repeating emotions and feelings, because we can better understand a person when we understand his feelings and emotions. If you do not understand the feelings, emotions, and pain behind the message, there is no doubt that you're not going to understand that person. So when you maintain proper or appropriate eye contact, it gives a clear indication that you are listening to that person. It gives a clear indication that the person or the speaker can unload his burden upon you. The speaker can share the secrets. The speaker can share his pain, or the speaker can share his conflict with you, right? So when this is one of the technique to enhance our active listening. The next one is minimizing external distractions. So when a conversation is happening between people or among people, there are a lot of distractions around. Yeah. Sometimes while I'm talking to you, yeah, your phone might ring, or there might be a message which pops up on your screen. Yeah, somebody will be calling you, or there will be a lot of external distractions. So when we are listening to a person, yeah, we must see to it that we have to minimize external distractions. So when we minimize external distractions, our internal, yeah, our internal ability to receive that message enhances. So one must minimize external distractions to better understand the message, to enhance active listening. Next, once you have listened to the person, yeah, you can also improve your active listening by responding appropriately. Don't cutthroat that person. Yeah, don't go for a cutthroat answer, right? Try to respond in an appropriate way. Next time, the person will definitely come back to you for a solution. Okay, so when you respond appropriately, definitely you are going to give him a signal that you have understood him well, and he can rely upon you. The next one is focus solely on what the speaker is saying. Yeah, that is, you have to enhance your internal ability. Yeah, by that help, this can happen only when you focus only on what the speaker is saying. When the speaker is saying something, if you are not focusing, or if you are occupied with something else, definitely you are going to miss some part of the information. When you miss some part of the information, definitely it will be leading to miscommunication. Definitely it will be leading to the breakdown in the communication. So we must give our mind, soul, and body when you are supposed to listen to a person, when you are supposed to listen to a conversation or an information. So we must focus solely on what the speaker is saying. We should not interrupt in between. So this is what happens most of the times. Whatever it might be, first you listen, understand, respond. Listen, understand, respond. First you listen to the whole information. First you listen to the whole context in which he wants to express his feelings. Yeah. So first understand the whole context, and then understand the meaning. Yeah. And evaluate, then you can respond. So focus solely on what the speaker is saying. By focusing solely on the speaker's note, we can definitely maintain the better communication. We can definitely pass on a solution to that problem, or we can better understand the problem, or we can better understand the feelings and emotions of that person. So focusing upon what speaker is saying can definitely help us in active listening. According to Scott Peck, he says, you cannot truly listen to someone and do anything else at the same time. When you are focusing solely upon what the speaker is saying, definitely your 100% concentration will be upon the speaker. That means you are not going to look at, or you are not going to distract yourself, or you're not going to attend to anything else, but focusing upon the speaker's information. So you cannot truly listen to someone and do anything else at the same time. So this multitasking cannot happen when it comes to listening. When it comes to other skills, yes, we can say, but when it comes to listening, multitasking should be minimized. 47% of our communication comes from listening. When we listen to a person, we can bridge the gaps. When we listen to a person, we can solve the problem. Yeah, when we listen to the person carefully, we can understand the person's emotions and feelings. The next one is to minimize internal distractions. Yeah, when we are listening to a person, there might be a lot of questions coming into your mind. There will be a lot of questions popping up. There will be a lot of doubts. Yeah, there will be a lot of judgmental things going through. But you must see to it that you must minimize internal distractions. Next, don't give advice unless the speaker asks for advice. So this is one of the methods to develop listening. So immediately when the conversation starts, we have an intention, or we intend to respond to that person, to give an advice immediately. We do not focus solely upon the speaker's speech, but rather we give advice to that person. Do not interrupt until they finish. As I told you, we try to give advice in the middle of the conversation instead of at the end of the conversation. So by interrupting the conversation in between, we are losing the most precious information. When we lose that information, we cannot analyze, or we cannot evaluate, or we cannot give a proper solution to that problem, or proper solution to that information. Engaging ourselves. So we must take notes to help remember what the speaker said. This is one of the best. This is one of the best technique. Most of the times I tend to do, if at all it's a lengthy conversation, or if at all it is an important conversation or information or a talk, I tend to take notes. In later stages, I can easily understand what the speaker has conveyed. The keys to effective listening. So what does a bad listener do? What does a good listener do? So let's look at that. Capitalize on thought speed. So when a conversation is going on, a bad listener tries to, or tends to, daydream. That means he is hearing to the person, but his mind is somewhere else. Body is present, mind is absent. Whereas a good listener, he stays with the speaker, summarizes the speaker, as well as he listens between the lines. We must listen to the ideas. Yeah, the effective listening, key to effective listening is listen for idea. So here, a bad listener he listens for the facts. He wants only facts. He does not want anything else. He wants only facts. Whereas a good listener listens for overall idea. Find an area of interest. The bad listener in this case tunes out dry speakers. Though the person may not communicate effectively, but there will be definitely some sort of information he has passed on. So what does a bad listener do? He tunes out the dry speakers, and a good listener listens for all the useful information. Judge content, not delivery. This mostly happens in our cases. We try to judge the content, not the delivery. So in this case, the bad listener, when there is a monotonous speech going on, yeah, he immediately turns out. Yeah. Whereas a good listener assess content by listening to entire message before making comments. As I told you before, we must understand, we must evaluate. Before we respond, we have to evaluate the whole message. We cannot respond like that without understanding the conversation, without evaluating the conversation. Hold your horses. don't get emotional. Yeah, most of the time we try to interrupt the person. We do not hold our horses, and we try to interrupt that person. We try to raise a question before listening to the person. So a bad listener gets emotional and ends it, whereas a good listener holds judgment until the comprehension is completed. The next key to effective listening is we must resist distraction. There are a lot of them. I would like to focus upon a few of them. So we have to resist distraction. So a bad listener, if at all a person is a bad listener, he will get distracted easily. If there is a noise or if there is a small noise of something, he will easily get distracted. Yeah, distraction can happen internally or distraction can happen externally. Whereas a good listener always concentrate on the speaker. Listen what is said. We have to listen to what has been conveyed, and we have to challenge ourselves that whatever the presentation or whatever the information it is, we have to treat the complex presentation as an exercise for the mind. We should not say, no, this is a hell lot of information he has given, I'm not going to take it. No, try to treat that complex information as an exercise to your mind. So most of the time it happens is like we do not tend to take notes. So a good listener always try to take notes, because he has an intention that in case the notes can be used in the future, or he can easily understand the by looking at the notes. Whereas a bad listener do not take any notes. Instead, he easily gets distracted. So once again, I thank you very much for listening. As I would like to conclude that communication happens when there is an exchange between information between two people. Okay, 47% of our communication is listening. Most of the times I listen to peace talks, yeah, peace negotiations, but there are no peace listens to. If you have listened to a person carefully, definitely I can say there won't be any conflict which happens. So one must understand the value of listening. As God has given us 2 ears and one mouth, you speak less and you listen to the information more. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Praveen. That was a wonderful session. You have covered a lot many things about listening skills. I hope that this will be a guide for everyone to go ahead and how they can improve their listening skills. What are the do's and don'ts also clearly mentioned. Now I request Gurucharan to propose vote of thanks. You unmute your microphone, Gurucharan.
Yeah, good evening, all. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to propose
Speak
vote of
little
thanks.
louder, Gurucharan.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to Mr. Praveen Alluru Garu. Sir was very informative. He gave all the inputs related to listening, and it is very true. He didn't even miss not even a single technique that gives us scope for improving our listening skills. That was really wonderful, sir. And the session was very informative.
Thank you.
You collected all the data, and that was very good. And you clearly told who is a bad listener, who is a good listener. That is very attractive, sir. And many techniques are there. I don't know we are following it or not. We have to follow if we want to be successful. And excellent session, sir. Thank you for making this session so wonderful, so informative, and so motivational. And now we understand know why people get jobs, because they listen. When they listen, they speak, they get job. That was really wonderful. Thanks for coming online in Mahipati Talks and giving valuable information on this day online. That was really wonderful. I thank Mahipati Srinivas Rao Garu for giving me this wonderful platform for gaining knowledge every day. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you,
sir.
thank you, Gurucharan. Can you stop sharing the screen, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Now I request the person behind making Praveen to deliver a session, none other than the Naresh, who is a good friend of mine. I request Naresh to say a few words.
Good evening, all. I'm very glad to see my brother, big brother Gurucharan here. Gurucharan sir, how are you? And
Yeah, very fine,
completely
Naresh.
overwhelmed by my and Praveen's excellent talk on. As he said, when we listen to something, to not to, intend to reply, but that should be intent to understand. That's true. You made us that, listening with an intent to reply is always, never correlates with all people. When you listen, with the intent to understand, then automatically all problems will be solved. And and moreover, today's speaker has touched upon all the points regarding what is listening and how to acquire listening and importance of listening and all the things. I really thank Dr. Mahipati Garu for providing such a wonderful platform for all the people to learn about many aspects of language, life skills, soft skills, whatnot, everything. And I really thank for his constant efforts every day for making all people come on to one single platform and deliver their excellent speeches and making others to enhance their skills. That's truly amazing, sir. Mahipati Garu and Praveen, you have made a wonderful presentation, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because I could see the pain and your efforts when you read through all the slides. You have collected a huge amount of matter related to listening, which is one of the most people feel like it's not a productive skill, receptive skill. They say like only listen, speaking and some kind of thing. Listening, they really ignore. You have made us enlightened with your speech, how to become a good listener, attentive listener, and how not to become a passive, how not to become inactive listener. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mahipati Garu, for conducting all these kind of sessions every day, day to day, on daily basis. Thank you so much.
Unmute your mic, sir. Mahipati Garu, please unmute your mic.
Sir, please unmute your mic, sir. Srinivas sir. Srinivas sir, please unmute your mic. Srinivas sir, unmute your mic.
Thank you
Not
very
audible.
much. Thank you very much, Praveen Garu. Wonderful. I can say that because of all your support, we are able to run this Mahipati Talks. Thank you. Special thanks to Naresh and Gurucharan, Chandrasekhar Bhavani, and in special today's resource person Praveen Allur Garu. He has taken a lot of pains in gathering and sharing the information. It was a wonderful and amazing session, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.